Midfield, instantly stretching Brentford's first line of pressure. This moment perfectly captures one of the major tactical contrasts between Liam Rosenior's Chelsea and Enzo Fernandez's version of the team. Rosenior has now secured his first Premier League victory as Chelsea defeated Brentford 2-0 at Stamford Bridge, with João Pedro marking the beginning of Rosenior's league campaign. But this match was about far more than the goals. It was about structure, spacing, and control. Both Liam Rosenior and Keith Andrews set their sides up in a 4-2-3-1 shape, each aiming to gain a tactical edge. But the real separation came during the build-up phase. Chelsea consistently formed a 2-3 base, deploying their fullbacks as midfielders and forcing Brentford into a dilemma: either press high and leave space behind, or drop off and surrender control. That choice ultimately defined the flow of the game. When Brentford had possession in their own half, they looked to build with a back three, but in a distinctive manner. Goalkeeper Flecken stripped high to join centre-backs Nathan Collins and Christopher Ajer. The centre-backs spread wide while the goalkeeper positioned himself centrally, effectively operating as an additional outfield player. This allowed Brentford's fullbacks, Rico Henry and Mads Roerslev, to push forward and create a midfield four alongside Vitaly Anelt and Yehor Yarmoliak. Tactically, this structure was significant. With the goalkeeper involved in build-up, Brentford effectively had 11 outfield players, creating numerical superiority across the pitch. This made it difficult for Chelsea to commit to full man-to-man pressing without either exposing their defensive line or leaving large spaces at the back. To address this, Chelsea pressed in a compact 4-4-2 shape. João Pedro and Cole Palmer led the first line of pressure, while wingers Pedro Neto and Alejandro Garnacho stayed narrow instead of rushing out to press the fullbacks. This was a calculated decision. If Chelsea's wingers pressed wide too early, they would immediately open passing lanes into Brentford's wide players. By remaining compact, Chelsea focused on blocking central access and forcing play toward the flanks. Behind them, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo closely followed the movements of Damsgaard and Yarmoliak in central areas, denying Brentford easy progression through midfield. In response, Brentford were content to advance the ball through wide zones. Their wingers dropped deeper and drifted inside to draw Chelsea's fullbacks forward, and once that happened, Brentford looked to quickly switch play to the opposite fullback. As the switch occurred, both the passer and the inverted winger made aggressive runs into the wide channel left open by Chelsea's pressing fullback. One clear example appears here, as Ajer has the ball and Jensen moves inside, pulling Cucurella with him and opening space on the flank. Ajer recognizes this, plays the ball to Roerslev, and then both Ajer and Jensen attack the space vacated by Cucurella, attempting to create a 2-versus-1 during the recovery. While the move did not lead to a major chance, it underlined Chelsea's defensive discipline. They reacted quickly, doubled up immediately, and closed down the fullback, ensuring Brentford had neither time nor space to exploit the overload. This balance between aggression and protection was a defining feature of Chelsea's defensive display. Chelsea showed strong resistance in their own half and were rarely undone by prolonged possession. Brentford struggled to carve out clear opportunities against Chelsea's compact block. The only time Chelsea were truly exposed came directly after losing the ball, when Brentford counterattacked its speed. Igor Thiago and Kevin Schade split wide, forcing Chelsea's centre-backs to spread, which created central gaps and allowed Brentford to attack the space and come close to a breakthrough. However, such moments were limited. At the opposite end of the pitch, Chelsea's proactive pressing proved decisive. Their aggressive counter-pressing high up the field forced turnovers, and one such moment led directly to a Chelsea counter-attack and a goal. When Chelsea had the ball, Rosenior's side built with a clear positional structure that mirrors many modern elite teams. Rather than maintaining a conventional back four, Chelsea intentionally built with only two centre-backs, while both fullbacks, Reece James and Marc Cucurella, stepped into advanced midfield positions. As they moved inside, James and Cucurella joined Moises Caicedo and Enzo Enzo Fernandez, forming a midfield diamond that at times morphed into a box midfield, depending on Enzo's positioning. This central overload gives Chelsea constant numerical superiority between the lines, allowing them to circulate possession quickly and attract pressure. Crucially, this structure is also designed with rest defense in mind. By keeping both fullbacks narrow and close to the center, Chelsea are well positioned to counter-press immediately if possession is lost, reducing Brentford's ability to counter into open space. Higher up the pitch, Alejandro Garnacho and Pedro Neto remain high and wide, pinning Brentford's fullbacks and stretching their defensive block horizontally. This width prevents Brentford from collapsing centrally and opens up interior passing lanes for Chelsea's midfielders. To disrupt this build-up, Brentford adopted an aggressive man-oriented pressing scheme. Their approach was not zonal but player-focused, aiming to deny Chelsea time and rhythm in the first and second phases. Brentford's fullbacks were instructed to track Chelsea's wingers tightly, ensuring Garnacho and Neto could not receive freely. In midfield, Matthias Jensen stepped out aggressively to press Cucurella, preventing him from dictating play from the left interior. Miquel Damsgaard followed Caicedo, while Kevin Shaw pressed Reece James on the opposite side. Ahead of them, Igor Thiago led the press, locking on to Chelsea's centre-backs and blocking direct progression through the middle. This coordinated pressure succeeded in disrupting Chelsea's midfield dominance, forcing them into longer spells of circulation and reducing their ability to play through the center with ease. Chelsea's primary solution to this pressure came through Pedro's movement. Rather than staying fixed on the defensive line, the striker repeatedly dropped into midfield, positioning himself between Brentford's lines. If he wasn't tracked, Chelsea immediately had a free man in central areas, allowing them to progress the ball cleanly. When Brentford chose to follow Pedro into midfield, the consequences were just as dangerous. His movement pulled a centre-back out of the defensive line, creating vertical gaps for Cole Palmer to attack. With quick wall passes and third-man combinations, Palmer was often able to receive on the half-turn and drive directly at Brentford's backline. Although these actions did not always result in goals, they consistently destabilized Brentford's defensive shape and generated high-quality attacking situations. In moments where Joel Pedro stayed high, Chelsea adjusted again. Cole Palmer drifted wide or dropped deeper, while Joel Pedro occupied both center-backs centrally. This created a clear dilemma for Brentford's fullbacks: step out to press Palmer and leave a 3 versus 3 against the defensive line, or hold their position and allow Palmer time and space to dictate play. Both options favored Chelsea. If the fullback stepped out, Chelsea immediately had a free man in central areas, allowing them to progress the ball cleanly. If the fullback held his position, Palmer could receive freely and progress the attack through carries or switches of play. These constant rotations, striker dropping, midfielder advancing, winger inverting or running beyond, prevented Brentford from ever settling into a stable defensive rhythm. Overall, Chelsea's build-up play was defined by positional discipline, intelligent movement, and structural flexibility, allowing them to control large periods of the game despite Brentford's aggressive pressing approach. In the end, this was a game decided by structure, discipline, and control. Chelsea were not flawless, but they were tactically coherent in possession. Their use of a midfield diamond and box structures allowed them to manipulate Brentford's press through intelligent rotations. Out of possession, their compact shape and aggressive counter-pressing ensured that Brentford's attacking threat was limited almost entirely to transition moments. Brentford's aggressive man-oriented press caused Chelsea problems at times, but it also came with risk. Chelsea's positional flexibility, particularly through Pedro's dropping movements and Cole Palmer's intelligent positioning, repeatedly forced Brentford into difficult defensive decisions. Defensively, Chelsea showed maturity. Aside from one counter-attacking moment, they controlled space well, recovered quickly, and prevented Brentford from sustaining pressure. And when opportunities appeared, Chelsea's press turned defensive actions into attacking outcomes. This match wasn't just about the scoreline, it was about how Chelsea controlled the game through structure, how they absorbed pressure without panic, and how Liam Rosenior's tactical ideas translated into a controlled, convincing Premier League victory. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, drop a like, and let me know in the comments which match you want analyzed.